for everybody that's coming in tonight. Woof, y'all, this is gonna be a powerful, powerful night because we have a very powerful individual, and I'm so excited, to be on and to speak. Because y'all know, here at the Polka Dot Rabbit Podcast, we love to have powerful, positive people that are, you know, that can help lift, uplift humanity. Okay, and hold on a second. Oh, see, I just see two of you. Okay, there you go. All right, cool. Um, If you're new to the Polka Dot Rabbit podcast, please go ahead and follow, like, and share. Um, Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. We are here to uplift humanity, and this is a special case and an individual because a lot of people they always ask, Zoe, how come you have such a diverse variety of people on here? How do you have such a diverse subject matter? If you go to polka dot rabbit podcast.com, read my book, and that explain it all. Believe me. Okay. Um, that's it for me. I have a very special guest here. Please. Um, oh, your name is not on there anymore. Where did it go? Let's see. Or did
Oh,
it both of ours? Did it go? Did it went away?
they're both gone.
Okay.
Because I
You
can't.
can put it in. You can put it in while we talk. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? Um, we have Miss. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you tell the people who you are. The people that do not know you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Megan Henry. I'm also known as the Savage Meglet, and I am a mental performance coach, and I help high performers utilize the power of their words and their subconscious mind to create the realities they want. And I believe every one of us is a high performer. We all have that power within us to that we can fully tap into, and that is my mission, is to help people realize how incredible they are, the power that they hold, and how to unleash that. That's my gift.
Indeed, indeed. And like I said, the Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. See, my here's the way I look at things. Megan and I are talking about this earlier. It's like, listen, y'all, we all have to live in this planet together, right? And we can literally make this place a beautiful place if we all become the best that we can as individuals. And I'm going to keep on saying that. I'm not going to stray away from that at all. And thankfully, we have individuals like Megan here that are helping people realize they can be great. So kudos to you, and I definitely appreciate the work that you're doing and assisting and aiding other people to realize that they can be great. I appreciate that. I'm very happy. We need many more clones of you to help, combat the negativity of this planet, all the stuff that we can improve on as humanity. So
Definitely.
yeah. So first off, it's like I was telling Megan when I posted this, like she had so many supporters ever like to talk about her story, and I was like, whoa, I have to find out more about Megan because shout out to Mark England, lifted coaches, vocabulary, um, all long-term friend. He hooked us up. Y'all probably seen him on the podcast numerous times, but he hooked us all up. So appreciate you, Mark, again. But yeah, go ahead and please tell the people that don't know who you are. Let's talk about your story. Let's dive right into it. Your story.
For sure. So, I am a former Team USA skeleton athlete. So, if you don't know what that is, if you've ever seen the movie Cool Runnings, it is an individual winter sport where you go head first down an ice track going 80 miles an hour. And you're basically on a lunch tray for a sled, and your chin is inches off of the ice. And I've been a lifelong athlete. I competed for Team USA, and I was on the US Army World Class Athlete Program. And I played sports all growing up. And it's ironic because growing up, I was super introverted. I would say that even
Really?
to this day, I'm an extroverted introvert. That's what I would say. And I think it
Join the
comes
club.
from,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's because I just feel like I can really sense other people, right? I can sense other people, and I'm really empathetic in that regard. And so for me to like warm up to a room, I'm basically like scanning the room and examining like, okay, who do I vibe with here? before that I'll truly like open up and be comfortable. And but even being that introvert, sports was like a really good outlet for me to express something that was powerful versus, you know, this very shy, introverted personality of mine. And my parents put me in a bunch of activities growing up, and then I played two sports in college. I played field hockey and I ran track, and
Mhm.
got all of my athleticism from my father. And I, in some ways, have transformed from this shy, introverted extrovert. But initially, I used to have a really fixed mindset about confidence and reality. I would say that I definitely had that
Mhm.
victim mentality, that life was happening to me, not happening through
Mm.
me.
Mhm.
And I believed that like some people
Mhm.
just compete well, these people that they are just confident, that's just something that they have. And in my own pursuit of sport at a high level, I experienced a lot of ups and downs, and I'm sure we'll we'll touch on those. And
Mhm.
I realized that what was holding me back was ultimately my mind, and
Mm.
that I was in control of more than I thought. And
Mhm.
um, one of the experiences that I had is I had life-threatening blood clots caused by a
Mhm.
birth control,
Mm.
and that may seem at the time, so that was in 2012.
Mhm.
And it was interesting because at the time when that happened, my parents were like, "Well, what do you want to tell people what happened?" Because it was like
Mhm.
taboo a little bit to be
Yeah,
on birth
yeah,
control.
yeah, yeah.
And what was interesting about that experience is that that was the first time that I really heard my intuition speaking to me very loudly, which was
Mhm.
to not go on this birth control. And so I
Mm.
went on it and had this really horrendous, like really life-threatening experience. And subsequently the recovery as well. And I missed out the year before the 2014 Olympic Games. I sat out. I had to go through this crazy recovery. And so since then, I've learned a lot about myself and my mind and the power of my mind,
Mhm.
and had that like perspective shift
Mhm.
of what I'm capable of. And so
Mhm.
I my mission now is to help other people have that same transformation just
Mhm.
with a little guidance.
Yeah. Yeah. So was it like a gradual thing? Was it kind of like when you were younger? Was it like you were just going through the motions as an athlete, kind of just going through the motions, and I'm pretty athletic, I'm doing pretty good, and it was just something that made you jump to the next level? And if so, what was it?
So it's interesting because I'm very much a Gemini. So if you know anything about Gemini, there's two very distinct
Two.
sides
Yep.
to a Gemini, and and so there. While I had this one perspective, this one side of me was like, okay, people are just naturally confident. That's it. They that's all
Mhm.
that they have, and I have to work at that. Like I don't possess
Mhm.
that. And but simultaneously, when I did have a vision and a purpose for something, I pursued it wholeheartedly. So
Mhm.
it was like, I know that this is possible. So there was a side of me
Mhm.
that believed I was a creator, and then there was another side of me that didn't necessarily believe that I was the creator. And so I my first athletic love was field hockey, and I knew that I wanted to play in college. And so I was determined to do that. And I signed up for all the camps, and I played on all of these teams, and did all of the things. And I dragged my parents around and spent their money. and and I ultimately got what I wanted. You know, I was able to go. I played at American University, Division One, and but even though got there, I had like I said, I had these like interesting ups and downs. So I got this goal. Had really performed really well when I was at the high school level. I got to college, and it's like everyone else is also very good here. You're not the standout, you know? And so that like knocked my confidence a bit. And but I still was like, pursuing it, but I just believed like, oh, okay, I must not just be as good anymore. Like I must have lost the skill, which is obviously not true. Um, and after, so I played field hockey for 4 years. I walked onto the track team because it was something that I was interested in doing. I thought I could do well. I like had certain trust in my natural athletic ability and talent, like my raw talent. I definitely trusted in. And after I graduated, that's when I joined the army. And I was like, I'm going to show up so ready for basic training. And I was like I was the number one person in my battalion when I at graduation, and I got this whole award and all of this stuff. So I mean, like if I set my mind to something, I'm just the type of person that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this thing that I set my mind to. And that's true for anybody, right? Like anybody who sets their mind to something. But I think I really hinged on like it takes the work to get there. And I still believe that's true. However, I could have made it easier on myself earlier on
Mm.
by also using the power of my mind, because I was working against myself in the sense that I really wanted to pursue something. But if I was facing some sort of like obstacle, then my self talk was not something that was helping me all of the time. And when I ended up going, so after I joined the army, I got recruited. I got recruited to first try bobsled, which I was too small for. And then I switched over to skeleton, and I was super interested in it. It was very adventurous. It's, you're going headfirst on a track and 80 miles an hour. I was an adrenaline junkie, so this seemed really fitting. I could continue my athletic desires. And in the beginning of my career in skeleton, I wanted to excel so badly that I was such a perfectionist. And perfectionism is really fear. That's really what that is. It's an expression of
Mm.
fear. And again, I had this like aha moment that my mindset is holding me back from the thing that I want. And what really got me into it was one, my own interest. I was like, I need to learn how to be more present, let go of mistakes, have better self talk. And so I really started to get into mindfulness and meditation, like
Mhm.
heavily into mindfulness and meditation. And that really started to transform my negative demeanor, like my negative disposition that I had when I was younger. Um, and yeah, I think that I remember I remember seeing a video of these monks that were they were all meditating in a group, but they were taking these sheets, like bed sheets that were soaked in ice water, and they were draping them over themselves, and they were meditating, and they were turning the sheets hot. So like they were turning hot and started to steam, and then they would put them back into these ice buckets and put them
Mhm.
back on and warm them up with their mind. And so I was like, okay, if they can do that, then I can certainly talk more positively to myself. So
So,
yeah.
somebody in the chat, they're saying I'm lagging, so I'm gonna try to give a get a get. I mean, I think they're saying I'm lagging, so I'm gonna try to give some space in between when I'm talking. But so the blood clots,
Mm.
did that, was it? It sounds like it was something very serious. Did that, from what I've read or what I listened to you say before, it was like a near death experience. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Very serious. Yeah.
Ye- Okay. Did you did anything change your perspective as far as life goes with that experience?
Oh my gosh, definitely. Initially, it was that my intuition is correct. My
Mhm.
intuition knows something that I don't, that wasn't consciously aware of. And that's, coming from your subconscious mind, your higher self, the universe, source, whatever you want to say. will give you messages. And so, like, by cultivating a mindfulness practice, I was able to strengthen that voice, that being able and trusting in that intuition. That was very pivotal in me being like, okay, I have been correct about things in my life, and this one that
Mhm.
was so serious. Like, to me, it was an example of how, like, the universe will present you with a lesson multiple times until you've learned it. And that was like, the the straw that broke the camel's back lesson. That
Mhm.
was like the, okay, this is serious. You're not paying attention to me, so I'm gonna make you
Mhm.
pay attention.
Mhm. That, yeah, it's interesting because I know my personal experience just dealing with life. It's like I had meditation, subconscious, all this stuff was early in my life, but I don't think I was really, um, I didn't, I wasn't, I honestly just spiritually mature enough to see the advantages of it, you know.
Mm,
Um, and now, it's one of the main things I focus on. But let me ask you this: you keep on talking about subconscious mind and self-talk and etc. Could you kind of talk about, how it could you kind of, if you're talking to like a new client or something like that, could you talk about the importance of self-talk and how it connects with the subconscious mind?
definitely. So what you tell yourself, so thoughts turn into feelings, which turn into actions, which determine the results that you get. So it's very important that what you're telling yourself, you're allowing your mind to know what is important to you. So if you're honing in on, I don't want this, I'm not good enough, really the negative sort of self-talk, it's like, oh, okay, that it doesn't know that you don't like that, right? Their subconscious mind doesn't have that perspective. It doesn't get
Mhm.
humor. It doesn't get satire. So I tell people, like, who who have like the self-deprecating humor and they're talking like crap about
Mm.
themselves. I'm like,
Mhm.
you need to watch what you're saying. you
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
to watch what you're saying because your subconscious mind doesn't know that that's a joke. And so then you'll recreate that and you'll get more of that in your life, or you'll
Mm.
get more examples of it proving to you and providing evidence of this negative thing that you don't want. So if you can shift your self-talk to be focusing on the thing, and it doesn't even have to be like you're focusing on something like, okay, I'm rich and I don't believe that I'm rich. Like, it doesn't have to be this huge contrast and this disconnect. You could be talking literally about things that you do like about yourself. You have qualities about yourself that you like. And just being like focusing on these things, like, you know what? I work really hard. I've got a really strong work ethic. I'm super compassionate. I am empathetic. I'm very spiritual. I'm very present with my family. I'm a good friend. Like, whatever it is,
Mhm.
um, if you hone in on these things that are true about you, but they're positive, then you're telling your subconscious mind, your reticular activating system, which is basically a filter, that I want more of that. And so I want more
Mhm.
experiences in my life that support that and reinforce that. And so your self-talk is extremely
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Well, I think you might have to log back in on the StreamYard. Yeah, because it's probably just like you said, the Wi-Fi. So, but you're good. Yeah, I tell you. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, no, I mean, I see, no, no, and it's true. It's funny that somebody they said it's so simple when you, but it's like if you're not learned that, or you're not told that is the method that it's used, then how are you going to know? But if you can utilize it and implement it into your life that way, then yeah, it's just like anything. It's just like walking. You know what I mean, or anything else that's okay. Are you able to get in or oh I'm sorry. Let's see. Hold on. I'm not seeing you on the other end. Let me see. Hold on a second. I'll put it. I'll go this route too until you, so I can hear you here. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Cool. Let me turn it up. I don't know what's going on with the Yeah. Go ahead. You're good. I mean, it's cool. It kicks you out and had to come back in. You probably just have to come back in.
Okay,
It's all
cool.
good. Oh, there you go. All right. Cool. There we go. All right. So yeah, but like somebody was just saying in the chat, they're like, it sounds easy when they do it that way, but it's like anything else. Unless you know how to do it, you know what I'm saying? I mean, how are you gonna know? And once you do it, like you were like I guess when you were doing both, like when you're saying you first, I guess you had to learn how to do the skeleton. I'm sure there was a technique how to do the skeleton,
Definitely.
but until you learn the technique, how you know how you gonna know how to do it? So.
Exactly. That's a good example. And it's like, okay, so I work with primarily athletes, but anybody, let's say you're going to the gym, right? If you go to the gym and you do squats one day and never go back, you're not going to see results, right?
Hmm.
And the same is true for any sort
Hmm.
of like mindset technique, manifestation technique, anything like that. It takes practice, it takes repetition, especially as you
Hmm.
touched on before. Like we have a negativity bias. It's natural. We think that way
Hmm.
naturally.
Yeah.
And so there is this like an inertia that you need to overcome that. And by
Hmm.
you're creating new neural pathways. You have to, as the
Hmm.
water runs over rocks, like it takes so much time for this water to run to create the groove in the rock. And it's the
Mhm,
same
mhm,
sort of principle that you're creating these new neural pathways by grooving these new thought patterns. Like you're literally changing who you are in a way. You're
mhm,
changing your your personality. It could be like for me, I had
mhm,
originally a very negative disposition. When I tell people that, they're like,
mhm,
what?
mhm,
So literally changing, like I don't feel like I'm a different person, so to speak, but I feel
mhm,
aspects of me have changed for sure. And that requires that repetition of like, okay, and if you're not your biggest hype man and your biggest
mhm,
supporter and providing the most self-love for yourself, you are
mhm,
unable, your subconscious mind is unable to bring you something in your reality that reflects that.
mhm,
Your subconscious mind will not let you obtain, achieve, accomplish, experience anything that you do not see yourself deserving of.
mhm,
And that
mhm,
is really important for people to know because for me in my skeleton career, for example, I really wanted to go to the Olympics, and
mhm,
I really wanted to be on the World Cup team for a number of years. I wanted to be on the World Cup team, and I would just miss it by just one spot because
mhm,
my identity was like, I don't know if I'm quite good enough to do that, And until I
mm,
was like telling myself, like, I'm a winner and I deserve to be there. I have all of the qualities that it needs to be the best in the country, and until I
mhm,
did that and was telling myself that repeatedly, like every day, sometimes multiple times a day, repetition is key. That's the message here.
mhm,
Until I
mhm,
did that, I was not experiencing it. And I would just miss it, just miss it, just miss it. And that will happen to you
mhm,
in anything, whether that's a relationship,
mhm.
money, anything. And so it's really important that you see yourself as the version of you that has the thing that you want.
How connect subconscious mind to manifestation into the physical?
So, I mean, kind of like I was saying, so your subconscious mind is responsible. So it's 95% of our brain, right? It's 95%. It processes like billions of bits of information. And so it can recognize things that you don't. It's literally a supercomputer. And
Mhm,
so when
mhm,
you want to program that supercomputer to give you the things that you want. So you could have
mhm,
again, you can have an actual computer, and if you are not programming it with what you want, you're not going to get the result. It's just going to either sit there, or you could have
Mhm.
bad hardware, you could get viruses, all of these things.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so the subconscious mind is similar in that sense, that you have to program it so that it knows what to give it to you. And that's
Yeah.
essentially what manifestation is. Manifestation
Mhm.
is giving your subconscious mind the instructions and simultaneously letting go of it and letting go of the conscious control of it, because the biggest piece of manifestation and creation is that you are trusting and believing that what it is that you want is going to come to you.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are like, manifestation doesn't work, it's not real. And it's like, well, you're
Mhm.
manifesting all the time, even the things that you
Mhm.
don't want. Like,
Mhm.
the and same for
Mhm.
me in that experience with the birth control and the blood clots. Like, do I think my higher self had me experience that for a reason? Yes. But I
Mhm.
also think that I created that because I had a lot of resistance to taking birth control. I was like, I do not think this is a wise decision. I was in a relationship at the time, and pressuring me to do so. And so I was going against like my inner self,
Mm.
that strong feeling. And so it's almost like it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like,
Mhm.
you're so scared of this thing happening that's what you attracted. You attracted this
Mm.
bad experience.
Mhm.
And that can again be true in any aspect. If you're terrified of losing money,
Mhm.
you could end up being bankrupt, for example. Like,
Mhm.
if you're
Mhm.
so scared of catching some sort of illness, the stress that you hold in your body, like, it could manifest into something that
Mhm.
way. And
Mhm.
so your subconscious mind is so important in terms of manifestation and bringing the things, whether good or bad, into your reality and bringing that into your 3D experience.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. So, could you talk about the importance of in the connection between self-talk and affirmations, and as an athlete, the importance of self-talk? And do you use specific affirmations to on a daily basis? How does self-talk and affirmations work together, or is it like something that's separate?
I would almost use them interchangeably,
Okay.
self-talk and affirmations.
Mhm.
Um, Affirmation is essentially talking about something that we do want, what could be,
Mhm.
what can be, what will
Mhm.
be.
Mhm.
And so however, like in our self-talk, you could like hype yourself up and be like, I got this. Like, that's
Mhm.
another
Mhm.
form of self-talk. But I use self-talk and affirmations interchangeably.
Mhm.
And it's really helpful as far as affirmation goes. If I'm working with an athlete, for example, that I will take words in conversation like this. I'll take words that they're saying, or we'll go through a process. That's part of the Enlifted method. Thank you, Mark England, where we'll develop affirmations that are specific to them. So it's coming from their
Mm.
own mouth and their own experiences versus some generic affirmation off of the internet. And I'm not saying there's anything
Yeah.
wrong with that, because I've certainly
Mhm.
used that in the past, and the repetition does help. But it's
Mhm.
it's easier to drill that into your subconscious mind and it's more accepting because it's new, it's change. If it's something that you can relate to, that like is tied to a memory of some kind, or that really resonates with you as a personal experience. um so for me, for example, when I was competing in skeleton, so you have 3 training days before a race, and that's you only get 2 training runs per day. That's not very many training runs.
Mhm.
It's a mile
Mhm.
long track of ice, and to learn like
Congratulations.
everything there is, and hammer out all the kinks. It's a quick turnaround. So then going
Mhm.
into races, the thing that I said to myself repeatedly for years was that I always perform on race day, because
Mhm.
practice runs could be up and down, they can be all over the place, and
Mhm.
I would be like,
Mhm.
that's okay. Um, That's what practice runs are for. And I'm like, I always perform on race day. I said that all
Mhm.
the time, and it was
Mhm.
generally true. Like maybe not 100% of the time, right? It's not guaranteed, but the importance of self talk and the affirmations is that you're giving yourself the best chance for
Mhm.
success. And like anything, like it's not 100% guaranteed because there are higher powers at work here. So like for me, I didn't go to the Olympics. I didn't make an Olympic team, but I believe that there was a higher purpose that I was not aware of at the time for that.
Mhm.
Either preventing me from having some experience, it allowed me to be with my family for a family emergency that I would not have been around for.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it's not always a guarantee, but what do you have to lose? Like
Mhm.
you're setting yourself up, you're giving yourself the best chance, and you're allowing yourself to feel good, right? Like you feel good when you're hyping yourself up, when
Mhm.
when someone compliments you, like it makes you feel good, right? It could make your whole
Mhm.
day. So
Mhm.
like you're going to perform in a much better state and relaxed and happy, a joyful state. That's what produces like flow states and being in the zone is that joy, that like bringing out that like that childlike self
Mhm.
versus if you're like taking it so seriously and you got to get this result, I need to do this, and has a
Mhm.
lot of pressure language.
Mhm.
That's not conducive to flow and being in the zone or having a high performance. If you were going to public speak, for example, and you were going to go out on stage in front of 10,000 people
Mhm.
and you were hyping yourself up in the back, like nerves are good. Nerves are a good
Mhm.
thing,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
so you can feel those and still go and
Perform.
hype yourself up. But if you're in the back, like freaking
Mhm.
out and being like, oh my God, there's 10,000 people and they're all staring at me. And oh my God, like, are you going to go out there and deliver a smashing speech? Most likely not, because people could sense that too. Like we give off
Mhm.
energy, we have our own frequency that we give off, and people sense that. So, even if you're like, if you're a UFC fan, boxing fan, whatever, if you see someone come out, like you can tell who's ready mentally, who's got it. You can say it in their demeanor, their body posture, their self-talk, and where their focus is.
Mhm.
And it's very apparent. And you don't even have to be watching on a TV screen and you can see that. So yeah, very, very powerful. Self-talk and affirmations, very powerful for the subconscious mind.
One thing, it was very, and again, shout out to Mark. One thing, he gave me some of his lessons, to listen
Mm-hmm.
to. Um, Not enlisted, but the other one, the vocabulary, that
Vocabulary.
I keep on saying it wrong, vocabulary. So I'm listening to what Mark was saying in vocabulary, right? And I'm like, I'm analyzing the way I would talk in how I was talking incorrectly as opposed to correctly. I never really analyzed it before, and it makes you understand how powerful words are,
Yeah,
and how much control that you have over words and using it correctly. Could you kind of talk about that?
definitely. So again, like the words that we use are spells, as Mark would say. They're spells.
Abracadabra.
That's abracadabra, which means with my words I create, for all listeners. And so it's I don't know. Have you ever heard someone say, "Be careful what you wish for"?
Hmm.
Um, so that's a good illustration, as like negative as that can be. That's a good illustration of um your words holding power. Like, oh well, I knew that was going to happen. When people say stuff like that,
Hmm.
or I really hope that I don't fail this exam. That you're just in the book of Matthew, not to be religious, but they talk about prayer and ask and you shall receive, and basically believe as though you have received the thing that you're asking for. And that is really powerful because most people, when they pray, whether no matter what religion or spiritual belief you fall under, if you're asking for something, it means that you don't have it. And so,
Mm.
what's really powerful is to express gratitude in advance for the thing that you want. And it's because your words have so much power. Like when we speak, like it's a vibration, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
sound is traveling from me to you. And that vibration, there's I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's Hawkins, the scale of emotions. And so
Mm-hmm.
like the vibrational scale. And so fear, I think, is the lowest one. It's a really low vibration. And then at the highest, I think it's enlightenment. But
Mm-hmm.
joy is really high
Mm-hmm.
up there too. And so but you can relate to that, like the power of your words, just
Yeah.
even in your body. When you say something, like if you're like, I really need to get an A on this test,
Mm-hmm.
if you say that out loud, if you say it, like, that doesn't feel very good. It feels,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much pressure attached to that. It creates a lot of tension in the body versus, I can get an A on this test, or how can I get an A on this test? It's way more relaxed. Like I encourage people listening, like just say those things to yourself, and it doesn't have to be about a test. It can be anything. But it determines your physical body, like what you feel inside. And so the words, they carry such a powerful vibration, and they either create friction and pressure, or potential and possibility.
Okay, I've been advised to give a 5 second a little 5 second break between I think somewhere overlapping, but it's cool, that's happened before, so I will definitely do that. Okay. And that's very powerful, words, spells, like you said, manifestation, how it's all connected. So, I want to talk about the life and experience that happened. Okay. This happened. So what did you do in your mind? Like, did you have to shift it to get over that? What did you have to do to get past that part and get through that life-threatening situation?
Oh wait. So this is such a good question, because this was a really good example of me using self-talk and visualization. Essentially, I was told that, you may never be an athlete ever again.
Mm,
You could be on blood thinners for the rest of your life. You're definitely going to be out for a whole year. So what happened was, so I took this birth control and I got blood clots, and I was having a really difficult time breathing. Within 10
mm,
days, I started to have difficulty breathing, and it exponentially got worse in the following weeks, to the point where I couldn't hold a conversation. I would be completely out of breath just trying to speak or walk up the stairs. So I'm an athlete in like peak condition. I train sometimes 6 days a week, sometimes twice a day, and I cannot hold a conversation. And I went to a combine test, which is like the NFL combine, right? You're being evaluated on sprinting, agility, strength, all these things. And I somehow finished this combine in and had the highest combine score. And I literally could not even jog a lap to warm up. And so I just was telling myself that I could get through this. I could get through this. And then when I saw a total of 5 doctors, and I was telling them, like, the only thing that's changed in my life, I eat the same, I go to bed at the same time, I do all the same things. The only thing that's changed is I've taken this birth control. And it took 5 doctors to be like, oh, maybe it's the birth control. And in my mind, I figured that, right? And so when they told me, so I was rushed to get a CAT scan of my lungs and ultrasound of my pelvis and legs. And so I vividly remember I was sitting in the ultrasound room, which was totally pitch black for some reason. And the nurse comes in and hands me the phone, and it's the doctor who ordered the CAT scan on the phone. And he's like, Megan, I'm really sorry to tell you, you've got multiple bilateral pulmonary embolisms, which means you've got blood clots all throughout your lungs. It looks like somebody took paint and splattered it all over your lungs. You've got so many blood clots. You've got a clot off of the main branch of a pulmonary artery, and there's an infarction, which means you've got a section of dead tissue in your lung. And so I'm really sorry, but you're not going to be competing anytime soon. And so I just started hysterically crying, like, okay, how could this happen to me? Well, I kind of know. I went against my intuition and took this birth control. And so my life was really, really flipped upside down. And I was in and out of doctor's offices, sometimes 5 times a week. I was on blood thinners. At first, I was hospitalized for 10 days, bedridden in a hospital. And when got released from the hospital, I was allowed to walk for 10 minutes a day. And then I was like given this little machine to breathe into to increase my lung capacity. So for an elite athlete, like that is a total 180, right? That's a really different life experience. And so for me, I got to tell myself a different story. That's what I chose to do. I chose to tell them and me, but I chose to tell me that I was going to heal sooner than they thought, that I was going to be an athlete again. And that was the vision that I held on to. And one of the phrases that, like the little mantras that I kept for myself over the years, is hold the vision. Because that truly was like my guiding dream, my hope. It gave me hope. That's really what it was. And I wasn't like clinging to this outcome, like I need to get cleared so that I can compete. I just had this knowing and this trust that that was what's going to happen for me. And that's super powerful in terms of manifestation, is the letting go of your desire and trusting that it's going to be there for you.
Okay. I'm gonna give it the seconds. Okay. So can you kind of okay? So you were this elite athlete. Okay.
Mhm.
I want to. Can you kind of talk about the importance of mental training? And how and the role it plays in athletic performance.
So it's so important, especially the higher that you get up in any sport, because when, especially at an elite level, like a national level, and the internet, if you're competing in the international level,
Hmm.
even college, right? Like now people are getting recruited for college teams younger and younger. Kids are specializing in sports really so much younger now, which is crazy. And so it's the big separator between people.
Hmm.
And moving forward, like everybody at an elite level has the physical talent. They
Hmm.
have the ability, they have the
Hmm.
discipline,
Hmm.
their nutrition is good, their sleep is good. Everyone is looking for an edge. And that edge is the mindset. The biggest separator is the mind.
Hmm.
And you see that for sure in all of the great athletes, whoever in
Hmm.
any sport,
Hmm. Hmm.
their mindset set them apart for years and years and years. Like Tom Brady, well, even Conor McGregor, I know like he's a controversial one, but he for the longest time spoke himself up when he had nothing, right? Like, and he had that vision and he held on to that vision. And having that's the new way forward for sports. So it's really exciting for someone like me who's like getting into mindset coaching and sports psychology, because that is going to be the biggest separator for sports in the years to come, is like who's got it mentally. And it's going to be even more competitive. Sports are going to level up. It's going to be really intense, like but very, very exciting. And that's super inspiring, because people who can perform and their mindset is so dialed, they push the envelope of potential for the collective as a whole. You saw that with Roger Bannister running the 4 minute mile, right? So he believed this was possible. Everybody thought it was absolutely nuts. He had the positive self talk. He was affirming. He visualized it. ran the 4-minute mile, and then everybody started breaking it because it broke this barrier. And that is like the really powerful piece about the mindset of one individual that can really elevate the collective. And you could take another person like a David Goggins, for example. I mean, an absolute beast of a human being on the planet. And he has broken a people's conception of what is possible for a human being to endure, right? And that is what's super, super cool about the mindset piece in sport. And it's so, so important. It really cannot be overlooked. Negation acknowledged that you just will not be able to compete without it. You really won't. You will not stand a chance.
Um, okay, so let's, how about this? So how your personal experience as an athlete, how did it actually influence your values and beliefs?
So, I've had some really good coaches and I've had some really poor coaches. And that has certainly had an impact on me. And I think as far as like, okay, I'm going into sports psychology, right? Parents and coaches have the greatest impact on their child as an athlete, in terms of what they say and the example that they set. And but I will say that the for me, my experience was there was a lot of negative talk for a while from some people. And I want to be the voice of like encouragement and of what's possible for people. There was a lot of comparison in my skeleton career as well. And that does not usually yield success. It could for in really small bits of time, but not prolonged over time. So you can see Mark England uses a great example. He's like, the victim mentality is really good for like that one set of squats that you got to grind out and you can pull out like, well, I'm going to show them and pull out this childhood memory, but it doesn't work in the long term. It actually like knocks you down. And so for me, from my experiences, the coaches who were positive, who just even mentioned that I had the potential and that I had such talent or the athletic ability, that one comment stuck with me. And so it's in my mind, I was like, it's crazy that I never thought this about myself for the longest time. And that has influenced me, like just having the contrast of experiences and coaches and what was told to me by other people. It made me one more conscious of like, who am I hanging around? Who am I allowing in my space? Like I ended up having a really small circle of people because I wanted the people to be actually supporting me to be successful. And the same is true for that I tell my athletes now, like even the people closest to you may not be the people who are best for you, because if they are constantly chirping in your ear about how bad you are, or you should just quit, or why haven't you retired yet, and things like that, that's not helping you perform good, right? Like, because we're humans, we value connection, we value other people's opinions, and when we hear something like that, it creates that sense of rejection, which is so painful because just evolutionarily, rejection meant that we were not going to survive. If our tribe rejected us, that means we'd be out on our own and trying to survive. And so that same sort of concept applies here, is that like who we surround ourselves with is very important. And so that my experiences have certainly shaped my desire to go into like mindset coaching, mental performance, sports psychology, particularly for high performers because of the stress and pressure that can come with it. And the stories around it, like it's shaped that so much because I want to be that support for someone that's like, I believe in you and you can do this. And I'm going to show you how you can believe in yourself and that it's true, that I'm not just making this up, right?
It's it's interesting because I heard you talk about meditation, affirmation, etc. So from what I heard previously and what I've seen, you're highly into meditation. Could you kind of talk about how you got into meditation and the benefits of it for you?
Definitely. I'll wait for a second. So I first got into meditation because I recognized I was being too analytical. I was being so much of a perfectionist, and I really needed some like presence and the ability to detach from mistakes. And so I started meditating. It's probably been 10 years now that I started meditating, like for the first time. And I first got into just like Zen meditation, and I was doing a lot of silent meditation. And throughout my career, it's evolved. I've like dabbled in different things. My huge thing that I'm into that I tell everybody is I'm so into Dr. Joe Dispenza because he combines that self-talk, that visualization into his guided meditations, and it's so powerful. He also talks about like the subconscious mind, the power of the subconscious mind, 5 5D, fifth dimension, the quantum field, and the science behind why this is what will bring it to you. And it's just so awesome. So I highly recommend some of his books that were really influential for me is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is one. Evolve Your Brain is another. And You Are the Placebo. So not to be preaching about Dr. Joe, but he's just unbelievable what he's done. And it just made a really big difference. And I found over time that I I I desired to have longer stints of meditation. So, and that's when I have produced the best outcomes in my life is when I've had a consistent meditation practice. And for some people, like that could be 5 minutes a day. Like as long as you're like getting to a point where you are present, your breathing is low and controlled, that could be good. That's like a good starting place for someone who's never done meditation before, right? And the your mind is going to wander, and the practice of meditation is bringing your mind back to the present moment because your mind is that's some people think that you're just supposed to sit there and you're not supposed to think of anything. You're going to think of stuff, and the practice is, can you bring it back to the present moment? The repeat, and that's repeatedly, like that's strengthening a muscle, the muscle of being present. And it carried over immensely for me in competition. It made such a difference on my ability to come back to the present moment. And yeah, I've manifested really cool things from my like long extended meditations. I've been to a bunch of meditation retreats, very, very powerful, also because of the collective, the energy of the group. But I highly recommend it because it's the best way to strengthen your intuition. And we live in a time where we're very easily distracted, where our attention is being grabbed all of the time. Like if I don't watch the news, but if you watch the news, it's if you got a cell phone, you got multiple social media apps. Some people are waking up and the first thing they're doing is checking their emails, and it's just like, oh, you could be like priming your brain at that time. And so it's a very unique trait to be able to sit with yourself. Not many people want to do that, have the courage to do it, or the ability to do it. And it's definitely a practice. That's why they call it a meditation practice. And to be comfortable with yourself is a superpower. And one of the examples that I give is like if you go out to dinner with a group of people and or even just with one other person, and you get up and go to the bathroom, chances are that person that you're with pulls out their cell phone because they just today the ability to sit there still alone with themselves is lacking. And so yeah, the my a long-winded answer, but the meditation practice transformed me as a person, transformed how I show up. And I just think it's so powerful to cultivate that self-awareness. It's like the
Mhm.
easiest way to know who you are.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that because like I said earlier, I had to really embrace the importance of meditation, and still learning. Try to get better every single day. Okay, so from a early teen up until your high peak performance, you've had a ton of experiences being an athlete. Could you kind of talk about, like, some of the best lessons that you've learned from these experiences?
So the best lessons for me were again, like the self-talk and the visualization and just knowing that you have the power to create what you want. The other one was how important consistency is. That's huge.
Mhm.
Consistency, doing a little a lot makes a much bigger difference than doing a lot a little. Kind of like I said earlier about if you go to the gym one time and you have this killer workout session and you never go back, it's not going to do a lot. But if you go there and you go to the gym 20 minutes a day every day, over time that sort of thing compounds, right? So it's not doing an astronomical amount of things. It's just the consistency really really matters. And what else? The other best things that I learned were how, again, like how powerful I really am. that,
Mhm.
that was like, if you told me that when I was in high school, that, you know, you are so powerful beyond measure and you could create the reality that you desire, I would be like, yeah, okay, whatever. That sounds cool. I remember actually my parents had given me the book The Secret whenever that first came out, and I literally was like, "This is trash." Like I literally was like, "This is the dumbest thing ever." So I totally like brushed it off, and, and which is kind of funny when thinking about it.
You
But
just
yeah,
weren't
I
ready
just
yet.
yeah, I really
Yeah.
wasn't. I was just not
Mhm.
in the space for it, and people evolve at their own times, right? They have we have experiences for a reason. But the last thing is to not compare yourself to others. So I don't know how to say that in an affirmative way, a less negative
Mhm.
statement, to really focus on you, like focus on
Mhm.
what you can control. Um, because ultimately, again, we all come here and we have different experiences. We have different upbringings. We have different core beliefs, like all of these things. So it's so unfair to yourself to compare yourself to another person because you're having two different life experiences. And I heard this from another mental performance coach. You are the goat of your reality because there's no one other than you. It's
Mhm.
just you.
Mhm.
And you are the only one who's had all of those ups and downs, those experiences, the blood clots. Like, so you're the goat. Like you're the only one, right? And so I think that is the another really powerful lesson that I learned in my athletic career is to really focus on me because that's all that matters. I control what I can control. And whenever, so one of the reasons why I did not make an Olympic team is because my focus went from me and showing up how, like, being in control of how I wanted to feel and show up and perform. And it shifted to worrying about what other people were doing. And that is so detrimental to peak performance because if you're focused on what someone else is doing, you're not focusing on what you're doing, right? So, like for performance in sports, that's really bad.
Mhm. And it's interesting because you were an athlete, you got to this high level, and now you're a coach. So what made it what made you want to become a coach? And how did you make your own type of, I guess, philosophy to teach your students?
Hmm. Great question. I'll let it sit for a second. So, how did I come up? I came up with my philosophy on my own experience, truly. But I knew that the next step for me was going to be in mental performance, just because I had such a transformative experience adopting some of these practices, and um, I've always been a problem solver. I've always been very empathetic. A lot of people came to me for advice, like when I was growing up, about various things, just life in general. And so I'm very giving in that sense. Simultaneously, I can be very drained by like uh big social settings because of that, because I'm very
Hmm.
sensitive to what people are going through and I can empathize very, very well. And so I have like a natural gift and a liking for that. And I see that there's a need for that. Like people, everybody has the same problem, every single person on the planet, and it's a thinking problem. And so I can provide a solution. That's really what I'm like. I'm a problem solver. I like helping people and I can really make a difference in people's lives. And that's why I got into coaching.
Okay. So, in saying that, if let's say you have some athlete right now watching this podcast or something, or specifically, our conversation here, if they, what advice would you give to an athlete that might be, facing setbacks or different challenges in their athletic career?
I would say to again like focus on what it is that we can control and what is important right now. So in terms of like using my example, okay, when I had blood clots, it was like, what is the most important thing right now? For me, it's recovering, right? At that moment, that's what it was.
Hmm.
Simultaneously, it was also to continue to have goals because in athletic performance and manifestation and whatever, there is action that is required. So when you have like either goals and aspirations and you're doing visualization, you're doing self-talk, action is required. Like I think The Secret got a bad rap because it was like, oh, you're just gonna sit on the couch and manifest $1 million checks. Well, like, okay, that's not exactly true, right? There's applied action required. So I would say like part of that, if you're injured, in some capacity, like what is it that you can do? So maybe you can't do everything, but what can you do? And that could be visualizing. For me, I was visualizing getting back onto the sled. What did that feel like? And so the biggest thing is what can I control in this moment? And one of those things is your thoughts and it is your self-talk. And it's easy to get distracted, particularly when you're experiencing some sort of a setback or an injury, to be focusing and speaking negatively. That's totally normal, right? And so I think developing self-talk and those affirmations that, so if you're not injured right now or you're not going through a setback, having those affirmations ready for that situation, because it's
Hmm.
tough to get into that situation and have no plan, right? um so I think one, having that in advance, so you've got some self-talk to turn to and generate feelings and raise your vibration, all of those things. But if you don't have it prepared, then it would be to focus on controlling what you can control and what is the most important thing now? What can I do to move the needle forward?
Hmm. Uh, I think you're frozen on IG. I'm not sure if you see that. Is it? I'm not.
Oh, I think my phone might have died. I've got another device here. Let me
Oh
just.
yeah, it's cool because it'll keep rolling, so it's all good. Just
Cool.
yeah,
I
because
know, I'm like, we've
it'll
got technology problems. There's a reason for it, I'm sure.
no, it's all good. Don't worry, everybody at IG, she's coming back. She's let me know when you're up. I'll just bring you because we're live on the other places as well, so we can keep on. I'm not gonna go out here, so it could be a continuous stream. So how long do you think it'll take you? How long do you think it to be on IG? Is it?
I don't know if because I'm connected to Wi-Fi here, obviously, and this is not connected to Wi-Fi, which is really strange. So I'm like,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool.
I'm sorry
But
about
just
that.
whenever you no, when you come on, it's all good. Um, I'll just once you're up, I'll plug you back in. So you can and anybody and you can actually let me see if I can put the actual link in. Bear with me. I might be able to put the link into the actual live stream on YouTube. So anybody that can't do that can just jump over and we can continue that way until she's up and running. But this technology, as we know, it's quite interesting. And they're saying it's getting more and more interesting with all these different things that's happening in space. Solar
Yeah,
flares and all this stuff. And so
I'm
things do
back.
happen. Okay, you're back. Oh, you're okay. You're back. Okay, let me get back then.
Here we go. I'm gonna
Okay, let me. I guess. Yeah. See if you can request me. If not, I can. See.
um
Let's
let's
take a
see.
look. Well, I can request you again. No, no worries. Let's see if it'll. Let's see. Bear with me. Okay, there you go. Oh, there you go. So you should see me in a moment. Oh, you should see Megan back in a
Yes.
few
There we go.
moments. Yep, she's back in the house. She didn't leave y'all. She had a yeah. Make sure you turn that volume. Oh, there she is. She's
There we
back.
go.
You turn the volume down again like you
Where's
did.
my
It put you back.
There we go. All right. Back. Back in
Back.
action.
That's it. That's it. And this is another great conversation. And again, thank you for coming, and also thank you for sharing your positivity and you just being a positive person, and trying to change others' life. Because I keep on telling people, I keep on saying this, you know, and you talked about this earlier as far as the collective, and you people,
Mm,
I keep on saying this all the time. If we want a better reality, if we want a better planet, if we want better everything for humanity, we have to have a positive mindset and a collective mindset in which is reaching for positivity, what I'm saying, peace, harmony. I know it might sound corny, cliche, but no. Who wants to live in a crazy world like we have now? We all want to change this place to be better. And we as a collective, as human beings, can do that. That's just the bottom line. You know what I'm saying? And I thank you for being a warrior of collective great consciousness. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate you so much. So, but I'm gonna, enough of all this humble stuff you talking about. I want to talk about some of your accomplishments. Throw that. I want to hear the ego, the pride. Throw it out in this last couple. I want to hear it all. You know what I'm saying? Self-talk, all that good stuff. Because I want to hear. Uh, and correct me if I'm wrong. Recently, you won a Masters National Championship in weightlifting, right? Remember weightlifting? You
I
chopping ten
did.
kilograms. Yeah, and you chop what? You chop 10 kilograms in 2 months. Can please tell me when you're saying 10 kilograms? When I asked you that question, is that the weight that you had to go in the weight class?
So yeah, so I dropped in Olympic weightlifting, the weight classes are in kilograms. So
Mhm.
for people who like I'm in the US, so I don't use kilograms
Yeah.
outside of sport anyway. So I dropped 10 kilograms, which is over 20 pounds. And to give you perspective, I'm 5'2.5", and I normally weigh like right now, I presently weigh 120 pounds. When I started, I was like 125. And so I dropped, or I was 128 actually. I was 128 when I started the weight cut, which is insane. And so in a really short time frame, I dropped from 128-ish. And when I weighed in, I was like 107 something. I mean, like when I say that, I'm like, wow, that's mind blowing. Because I'm not a big person, right? So it's like shocking. um And so I was very thin. I had very low body fat. My body fat was around 10%, which is really low for a female. But in because it was done in such a short time frame, you also lose muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's, you know, risk reward with that, with doing things at the extreme. So I don't necessarily recommend people do that in that fashion in such a short time. There's repercussions for things like that, but I wanted to see if it was possible, and so I retired from competing in skeleton last year, and I didn't have a new like pursuit or passion for a while. And so I was going to the gym and I was working out and I was like, this is cool because I can train to look good. But I went back. I had done Olympic weightlifting before, and so I started training for it again. I entered a local meet in January, and then I was like, okay, I'm competing in Masters Nationals. And at that time, I saw the opportunity for me to win this class because I wanted to win a title. And so I was like, I'm just going to see what I can do. And if I make it to the weight class, awesome. If not, okay, I'm still going to compete. And it was cool because it was an opportunity for me to practice some of these things that I teach. And it's cool as a coach to be able to walk the walk, right? Like it really gives me the empathy factor, right? Like I can understand what someone's going through. Now I understand what people in weight cutting sports go. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can really empathize with somebody going through that. And so yeah, I'm very proud of that. That was super cool. A risky thing to do, but I don't regret it. I'm very proud of that. And did you want me to go on my a bragging rant?
Go. Well, hey, you earned it. Go ahead. Well, let me. I'm gonna give the lag time here, but um, I used to wrestle and I used to have
Mhm.
to cut weight. So everything you said, I completely understand, and I understand how, um, especially when you're younger, it's different because your body is, just reacts differently. But the older you get, I can see how there could be more stress in the. So man, I can't even. That's rough. But go ahead, please brag away.
Uh, okay, so I won this national title. I was a national champion in skeleton. I was number one in the US for many years. I set two track records in Lake Placid and Park City. I set an American start record in Lake Placid and in a lot of other tracks around the world. And on my World Cup rookie season, I won a bronze medal, and I was the highest world ranking that I ever had was 8th overall. And yeah, it was that's just in terms of skeleton. And then field hockey and track. I mean, team accomplishments, like we were league champions, went to the NCAA and all of that. And at American University, I was on the 4x100 record holding team for American University. I don't know if that record still stands. I have no idea. But yeah, I've done some pretty cool things, and I'm very proud of them. They've been amazing experiences, the highs and the lows. And I'm a firm believer that the lows are required, right? There's the adversity is required for growth. And there was an interesting study. I'll have to find it and send it to you. But there was an interesting study about trees. So they took trees and they were like, you know what? We're going to put them in like inside and in this environment where there's no wind, there's nothing that could hinder their growth. And what ended up happening is they actually did not even come close to the height that they would reach outside, because that wind and all of these things contribute to the growth of the tree. So that's a good analogy for life itself and for our experiences, that in order for us to grow and expand, like the adversity is required. It brings out so much personal and spiritual growth. And it's just opportunities. That's really what it is. And having that shift in perspective of is really powerful. And when I didn't make the Olympic team, like there was the emotion that goes behind that, right? There's the bittersweet, the frustration, like the highs and the lows. So we're meant to experience that. We're meant to have those emotional um contrasts in life. However, I was able to be like, I trust that this was how it was meant to be, because that's what's happening. Like, who am I to argue with reality? Like, this is what's happening to me, so clearly it's meant to be. And that approach has served me really, really well.
Um, you were talking about earlier, we kind of joking, talking about wisdom, but ultimately, what you're just saying right now, that's true wisdom. That's taking life serious, learning its lessons, letting it navigate you, doing what you can do on your end to to be the best, taking in other lessons from other people, cutting bad people out of your life, whatever. All these things is that those all those adversities that the tree has to grow.
Mm.
Perfect analogy. So thank you for bragging. I'm very happy that you were able to brag, because you need that time to show people that the reality is all this stuff that you did, like you said, you're showing and proving. So, I'm gonna tell you, this has been an absolute honor. And if people out there watch it, please follow, like, and share, and also check Megan out. I think all our stuff is all our information in for the new people that haven't already know who she is. Please follow her, check her out. She's got some serious. She's on. You a part in Team Lifted as well, correct?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And my man Mark, England, he's doing some great things out there. And like, I, to use to use the mushroom analogy, it's like, Mark is putting a bunch of great spores out into the universe. You know what I'm saying?
I
That's
call him
exactly.
I call him Mark the Mage.
He's putting positive, good people out into this universe, making replicas of that, and that, hey, that's all I can ask for in the human race. Just let's keep on replicating great people so we can
Mm.
shift the consciousness of this planet. I'm a firm believer of all that. You know what I'm saying? So, Megan, it was an honor having you on this podcast. I thank you so much, and we'll have to. Hopefully, we can do it again down the line.
Definitely.
And we'll talk about some, go in more depth about some other things. But thank you very much again for being here, and I appreciate you being on there so much and just giving this good information out to the people. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome. It's been so good. Thank you.
Indeed. If you haven't already, all the people, please follow Polka Dot Rabbit Podcast, um, polkadotRabbitPodcast.com, and check out my book. Like I said, if you're wondering, if you go through my page and you're looking through the different, wow, there's a whole bunch of different topics you're talking about and a whole bunch of different things. It's in the book. I've been there, done that, and still like to be there and do that. And I'm gonna continue until I move on on this life. So this is a beautiful ride, and I'm honored to meet other
Mm.
beautiful individuals like you, Megan. So that's that for me. That's it for me. And the Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. Please follow, like, and share this video. And that's it. Anything else you got for Megan?
Stay savage.
I like that. I like that. All right. Peace and love, everybody. We out of here.